Hey, today I have Jorge and Austin on from the PICKLR. It's a pickleball franchise. I love pickleball and I love franchising. So I'm like, I had to get these guys on. I knew they've grown a way that not a lot of brands grow. They started out with a friends and family raise to grow their first handful of locations. The way that they did it, I think franchisees will find that interesting. And I wish more franchisors would do the same thing. And then they raised money from friends and family. And then they went to a Series A, and they to really stack the deck and hire a bunch of people and really good people as they started to grow their franchise brand. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, and I learned a lot, and I hope you will too.
Representing Franchise Secrets, Erik Van Horn.
Jorge, Austin, PICKLR, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here.
I'm excited that my DUPR is so much higher than your guys's.
Yeah,
That's what I'm excited about.
Well, so much higher is a stretch. Higher, yes.
Yeah.
It's night and day. Like
Yeah.
if you're in, there's a big difference between being in the threes and being in the fours.
It's true.
Like you're
It's
in
true.
the threes
That's
and
true.
I'm in the
higher than
fours.
this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
For sure. But we're a good time on the court, so
It's
yeah,
true.
that's hard to beat.
If Good Time was a duper, we'd be pro.
Yeah, we'd be pro.
Ben Johns.
Yeah.
So would I. I'm the same way. Most people probably don't even know what a DUPR is. DUPR, how would you explain what a DUPR is to all the people that don't know about pickleball?
Yeah, that's a great question. So DUPR is a dynamic universal rating for pickleball. So essentially what that is you need 7 matches in order for you to create a rating. And in pickleball, it's very interesting because one of the first questions he asked you is what's your DUPR, right? And you know, we grew up playing football and basketball, and you don't go to a pickup game and say, hey, dude, what's your rating on the court? You know, most people don't ever, can't give you an exact rating. But if you ask me, and I'm a 4.02 right now, right? And so it's one of the unique things about pickleball where people care so much about what their DUPR score, what their rating is, and how they're progressing towards getting a higher DUPR, which is interesting. Yeah.
Pickleball is super interesting in general. I was telling you earlier, I don't have a lot of brands that come on here. But I've seen you guys. I know other pickleball franchises. They've never been on the pod. But I know that you guys are you're doing big things out there. I saw what you did in one of the recent PPA tournaments. I think you were a sponsor of it. You've got some sponsorships, you've got some unique relationships. And so I thought, and then you're out there online, like you guys are out there making a splash. And so like my love for pickleball, you guys seem like you're fun guys, and absolutely I want to play pickleball with you guys sometime. I wanted to have you on the pod to talk about pickleball franchising.
Yeah, no, let's talk pickleball. And I'm glad, Erik, that you recognize what we're doing, because to grow not only a pickleball brand, but to be a franchisor, I think people really underestimate how much and how, first of all, from a cost standpoint, but the effort and team that you have to bring in order to build that, right? And so right off the bat, we invested in that. We wanted not only to be one of the best and most recognizable brands in the pickleball space, but in the world, right? And so, I think for us, we want to be synonymous with pickleball. When you hear PICKLR, you relate it to pickleball always, and it's recognizable. And for us, that's a huge compliment to the team we brought on. They're invested in what we're doing, and for heaven's sakes, pickleball is our job. Like it doesn't get better than that.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's talk about that, because at Front Street, I'm dealing with emerging brands all day long. I talk to 200 to 300 brands a year that are emerging, and I see what they need help with. And we try to paint a realistic picture of what it takes to go from an idea or some corporate locations to $100 million brand, because that's what everybody wants to get to, 100 million plus or 50 million plus. but they don't understand the work that it takes to actually get there. So like, where did the idea come from? And let's talk about some of the challenges, or, you know, the things that you guys have experienced to get to where you are today.
Yeah. George always tells our initial story the best. So,
well, and it stinks that I have to tell it, because I've been playing pickleball since 2015. So, you know, in this space, you're an OG at that point. And so when I tell people what my DUPR rating is and how long I've been playing, it should be a lot higher. It should be a lot higher. So I'm embarrassed to say how long I've played pickleball. But, you know, I was very fortunate to be introduced to pickleball, you know, pretty early on. I always loved, you know, playing ping pong. I worked for a lot of tech companies where, you know, ping pong is what you played to relieve some stress. And you know, Utah has been ahead of what the pickleball trend is. And so down the road from the company I worked at, there was 12 pickleball courts. And in 2015, that's unheard of. And so we would go to lunch and we would play. Again, you didn't know what pickleball looked like because there wasn't pro pickleball out there. You know, we would play it a little bit like you would see in a senior citizen center, right? You dink the ball, you would try to do the best you could. And it wasn't until winter time when there was only 4 courts in a rec center and there was 50 of us sitting there waiting to get on the game. And I was like, I would never do this for anything. Actually, maybe I would. The iPhone. I've waited in line for the iPhone many times. But I was just thinking in my head, I was like, this is crazy that I'm wasting my lunch just to try to get one game of pickleball in this rec center with, you know, crappy courts. We're not even the priority. Volleyball and basketball would always kick us off. And so I thought, number one, this is crazy that a lot of us here are dedicating our time to come and play. And then number two, I saw some young kids just smashing the ball. They were moving. They were jumping to get the ball. They were diving to get the ball. I'm like, yeah, they played a little bit different than I do. And so my thinking cap came on. I was like, well, this sport is not being represented the same way. In 2015, if you told people you played pickleball, it was you're an old person. And so I started developing a brand called Curl Sports. It's a paddle company, just to bring better design, better look and feel of a pickleball paddle. And that didn't happen in about 2019. Launched it, did Instagram ads, was selling like 100 paddles a month, just as a fun side thing, the love of pickleball, and got laid off from a job December 2020. You know, had been through a couple exits. I've been through a company that worked in IPO, and just said I'm never going to work for anyone again. And so the days of playing in a rec center, I was like, why is no one doing full-time pickleball? Why is no one doing indoor courts with, you know, you don't have to wait in lights. You can go play. And so I picked up the phone and I called this dude. And I said, Austin, I have an idea. I'm in, he says. And I was like, dude, let me tell you. He's like, I don't care where it is.
Oh, that's a good friend right there.
Yes. Yes. You got to have a friend like this in your back pocket. And so I told him the concept. I told him the idea. We had played tournaments together. So in December 2020, came up with this
3-0
concept.
tournaments, like, this be specific, like, were they 2-5 or 3-0 tournaments?
Okay. You don't.
Yeah. Actually, it was a 3-0 tournament.
Yeah.
And we took second. We got beat by
second or
yeah.
third?
No, we took second. We got beat by this old couple.
Yeah.
That just placed the
best.
ball. Yeah, painted the lines. Like, yeah. I mean, I think she had 2 knee braces on. Like,
Yeah.
I was diving as she smoked us. So
yeah, but you know, it took. I didn't have a job. I was unemployed at the time. I had just got laid off. Had gone through a merger. I was getting paid too much money, and they let me go. And so, the fact that this guy was willing to take the chance with me, you know, emptied out my savings, maxed out all my credit cards, and we started this concept called the PICKLR, a 7 indoor pickleball facility in Uinta, Utah. Signed our first lease in January, which, thank you to our landlord at the time, didn't check financials,
just gave us a lease.
Just gave us a lease to sign, and we opened our doors April of 2021, and holy hell, what a wild roller coaster it's been, and the mistakes that we've made and the growth that we've gone through. It's been incredible.
Yeah, we've treated every location like a lab. to say, okay, let's test different lighting, let's test different paint colors on the wall, let's test different, nets and fencing and everything you can think of. So that by time we got enough facilities open, we were like, hey, we know what we think works best, and we have a final product. So all 7 of our first facilities have been this laboratory to like really test and try. And we knew that we were going to make mistakes. We knew we were going to fail in certain aspects, but we really treated those as opportunities and learning experiences until we could build what we built now. Then we could franchise.
Attention, franchisors and franchisees. There are 2 really important resources that I want to share with you that will help you avoid costly mistakes and increase your enterprise value. The first is our free Facebook group. It's a community that has over 4,000 franchisees and franchisors in it. When somebody asks a question, they get honest and authentic answers from multiple perspectives. You can join the group for free over at franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. The second resource I want to share with you is if you're a franchisor and you're frustrated that you're not awarding as many franchises as you thought you would, this is the reason I created the Franchisor Mastermind. If you want access to the information, the techniques that the best franchise sales organizations are using to award franchises, and you want what mature brands have with their playbook of having happy, successful franchisees that grow the right way, then you might want to check out the Franchisor Mastermind. The reason why people join is they want access to my Rolodex, my connections. They want the playbook to achieve both short-term and long-term success. They want to increase enterprise value in their brand. Links will be in the show notes or at scalablefranchise.com. So you had 7 corporate locations before you franchised?
Yeah, that was important to us. So we initially were, discussing, do we franchise? What do we do? What's the long-term play? Early on, we said, but before we even consider franchising, we have to be the experts in this. It's a brand new industry. No one's really scaled this. No one's done this outside of like a mom and pop place here and there. So we have to really understand this. So like, let's open up multiple corporate locations. Let's do one in a kind of a colder environment where there's snow in the winter. And let's do one in more of like a, desert environment. So we went down to St. George, Utah, opened a location there. It's like, okay, let's open one out of state. So if we ever have to say, yeah, you can run these remotely, and you can hire people and you can travel in as a franchisee, with your club coordinator. And so like, let's do one in Loveland, Colorado. So we had one in Colorado, 6 in Utah before we ever decided to franchise.
Why did you decide to do that? Because I think it's smart. I love it when brands do that. Like when I'm on a call vetting different brands, when they tell me they've done something similar to that. I had one of our portfolio brands, Hawaii Fluid Art. They started out in Kona, Hawaii, and she's like, I need to test this out outside of Hawaii. Opened up in Kansas and had success. And so, and then I think it was Texas next. So I love it when founders, before they even start franchising, have that kind of mindset and start opening in different markets. Because it's one thing to open up in Utah. Pickleball is huge there. And it's another thing to open up in Loveland, Colorado. So was that just intuition? Was it advice that you heard somewhere, or was it advice that an advisor gave you? Where did that come from?
I think we got advice from a lot of people. We've had a lot of great people around us, but I think initially me and George just wanted to make sure that we knew what we were doing. So when we took someone's money and then they were buying a brand, they were buying a system, that they were actually getting that. They were getting a brand in the system. They weren't just getting an idea that we tried in Utah at one location, right? Because you could be very successful with one location, right? I think it's very different to then go to one. The jump from 1 to 2 is a lot bigger jump than people think, right? At one location, a 7-court location, me and George, like we lived there, right? We talked to every single member. Now we can't carbon copy ourselves and put ourselves to every location. So we needed to show, these facilities can be successful when we're not talking to every member, when me and George aren't physically at the location every single day. That we actually have systems in place that can make a location successful based off the actual product, not just off me and George's personalities and passion and all that.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing.
But to Austin's point, right? You can't replicate us over and over at each location, but you can with a passionate franchisee. And so it was important for us. We knew that in order to scale this brand, it was going to require people that, you got a lot of people that love pickleball that are well capitalized, that were willing to be the George and Austin of each location. And so Now we're getting the very savvy franchisee that has opened 100 locations and have operators and systems in place to scale. But it was important for us that we provided a business opportunity to people that were passionate about it and could go and replicate this for us. The other thing too is the thought of opening, our initial plan was to open 40 locations ourselves, corporate stores. Speed to play, how expensive it is to do that, what it was going to take as far as manpower to do that. And so for us, we understood that we had an opportunity because my LinkedIn, Austin's LinkedIn, our Instagram DMs had 50 to 100 people. How can I franchise this? How can I franchise this? And you know, credit to the people that we brought on early on that had built systems to replicate this. For us, when we decided, you know what, it is going to be a speed to play. We need well-capitalized people, and we have the system in place. Let's look at franchising. How fast did you do your FTD in?
I got with the lawyer in like January, and we finished by middle of February. So we powered through it. It was like, felt like it was like full 20-hour days every single day until we got the FTD and everything done. But we had all the, a lot of things built. We just had to then compile it and package it ready for franchising.
Yeah. I want to go back to one thing that you talked about with your original location, because there's some brands out there that have one location and it does amazing. And so franchise buyers out there, what they just talked about is something that you should validate with that new franchisor that has one corporate location that does amazing. Find out why it does amazing. Is it because it's unique and geographically? Did they have some unique things that happen in that market that caused it to have such great numbers a particular year? Is it because the founders are so involved? Is it because it's been there for 20 years? Is it because sometimes I get on phone calls or Zooms with founders and they brag to me how all their business is referral business. They're like, it's all referral. Like, well, what do you do for lead generation? They're like, we don't have to do anything. Well, that's great for an established business, but that's not great for a new franchisee that doesn't have anybody that can refer. So buyers out there, like, pay attention to things like that when you're going through the buying process, because these guys did it and they knew that would happen and they needed to prove it to themselves. They owed it to themselves to be able to know that their brand worked without them. And even as you validate with franchisees that are killing it out there, find out why they're killing it. Are they killing it because they're an owner operator, or are they killing it because they have a system and a process in place and a district operational manager, and they are going to grow that particular franchise as a franchisee based on their own personalities and hours that they're putting into the business, or because they're running it like an actual business and they're working more on the business?
Absolutely.
So that's a good point, guys. So branding, like you guys, I see you out there. I see you out there a lot. Talk about the importance of branding in general as you're a new franchise, and I think you had good branding. I'm guessing you had good branding before you were a franchisor.
Well, I giggle because
personal
we
branding
didn't.
as well.
You did. No, I'm just thinking of the old days of our Instagram. Don't go to 2021 and look at our Instagram videos. They're
George has
everybody's going there right now.
George has some good ones. Eric, you got to go back. There's some good ones. There's some
No, but I think right off the bat, and Eric, I think one of the things me and Austin realized early on is, great, we got an FTD done, but what do we do now? We're not franchise experts, right? We had gone and done a friends and family round to do the 7 locations. But we knew in order for us to do this right, we had to bring in the right people to help us with that. So we raised a Series A, right? And our Series A went to hiring 70 plus people just for corporate, right? We are not an area developer company. We sell directly to franchisees. And as a franchisor, it's our responsibility to support them in order to be successful. And so right off the bat, for us, we brought on 2 people, Scott Shoebigger and James Herlock. James Herlock had been the chief partnership officer and F45, and he was the CEO of their yoga concept. And Scott Shoebigger, 40 plus years of franchise experience, whether it be Snap Fitness to QSR. I mean, he's done it all, right? And so, for us, it was very important to figure out, these two people could come and help us. And so we were going to pick one or the other. And ultimately we're like, we got to bring on both, because James had a vision of what our brand should look and feel like, right? So even though he was a chief partnership officer at F45, we made him chief brand officer because he knew right off the bat. I mean, he tells us now, but when he walked into the clubs, it's like, well, we got a lot of work to do here. And we thought we had the best clubs in the country. And so, we went through not only updating the clubs, but what the club represents. What does the PICKLR represent, right? And we wanted to be a lifestyle brand. We wanted to be we call it here internally the third place, right? It's your work, it's your home, it's the PICKLR. And so for us, everything that we think about, we internalize our three pillars, which is connect, dink, and compete, right? Everything that we do and think about is how do we, everything from our programming to the people we bring, how can they apply those three pillars into everything that we're doing? And then we went and created this foundation. And to build a brand, you have to spend some money, right? We are at F1, for heaven's sakes. Like, we had no business being at F1 Austin, like but it made sense. The fastest growing sport meets the fastest sport, right? And had 3,000 people come play pickleball in 3 days. It's like, we'd say, hey, the race is starting. Go watch the race, for heaven's sakes. Like, you paid thousands of dollars to be here, and they just wanted to play pickleball, right? And so we started to realize that we had such a strong brand presence because pickleball is for everyone. And how do we ensure that it can be a lifestyle? It can be part of your community, right? Pickleball, as you know, I mean, for heaven's sakes, you went to Denver to go play in a tournament. Who does that? and so we're very fortunate too with the community that supports us, and they help represent the brand too. And we always wanted to make sure that those three things, connect, dink, and compete, push us in everything that we do when it comes to brand.
Let's talk about that growth capital. You said friends and family round. So
yeah,
a lot of emerging brands out there are going to do like a friends and family round, or they're just going to bootstrap it. And to have any scale, they need to have a decent chunk of change in their bank account ready to scale it. And that's one of the things that we look at with the brands that we end up working with, is they need to have some deep enough pockets. And we have the ability to provide capital at different times if needed, but we want them to be able to put in a decent amount of their own capital. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is that friends and family, or another way to do it is just grow really slow, which it sounds good, but at some point, the franchisors, you need to have some scale to make that franchisor, doing well financially. It's hard to do it when you're adding, 5 new franchisees a year. Now, maybe starting out that way is okay, but let's go to the friends and family round. What can you tell me about what that actually looked like, how much you raised, what the terms were, why you did it? So I ask you those specific questions, but tell me what you're comfortable telling me. If you're not comfortable getting into certain details, that's totally fine.
No, I mean, so me and George bootstrapped the first location ourselves, and kind of bootstrapped the second location. But there was like a long construction timeline. Our second location would be St. George, Utah. But there was a year of re-upping the building. Like, just, we had to move columns. We had to move, like, there was a lot of work for that building. So, but we met an individual that was interested in a business next to ours called T-Box. It was a golf simulator company. And when he walked in to go meet with that person to invest in T-Box, he saw what we were doing and he said, who are those guys? That's what I'm interested in, right? And so we
big golf guy too.
Big golf guy. So we met Carter, and Carter connected with us with a handful of his kind of friends and family. We had other friends and family for me and George that joined that round as well. And that was just a round for us to open our first initial 7 facilities. So all that capital went to go, secure leases, build out those locations, hire staff for those locations, get those first 7 open. So all of our first 70 corporate stores came from that friends and family round. When we made the decision that we were ready and wanting to move forward with franchising, that's when we decided we need to do a Series A. We need to do a Series A round. We need to raise close to 11 million on the Series A.
Let's pause there and then we'll pick up at Series A. So friends and family, when you did that, and it was for those 7 locations or handful of locations, was it equity in those? Was it interest or a combination of both?
Yeah, equity in those specific locations. And so the amount equated to about 1.9 million.
So 1.9 million equity in those locations. Did it have any promise of having some type of equity or possibility of equity in the franchise organization?
Yeah. So this is, I mean, Eric, the amount of different entities we had to combine when we raised our Series A was a pain in the ass because people had ownership in the locations that they help us open. Plus me and Austin had ownership in the first 2. Then we went through a merger with a gentleman named Steve and John, that we're in this massive 15-court facility. And this is where our HQ is. And so we went through just a merger of all the brands, and everyone got equity based off of their ownership in basically each location, right? And so everyone issued shares in the new company, which is PICKLR Inc. So PICKLR Inc. now is a holding company for not just the PICKLR franchise business, but we also own and operate a company, homegrown Stack Athletics, the best pickleball clothing brand in the world.
How do people, is that on your PICKLR website or is that a separate
website?
No,
StackAthletics.com operates as its own entity. We have we have a president, we have a design team. I mean, man, Stack, we don't talk enough about Stack here, but Stack has its own opportunity, and we're very excited about to have a homegrown clothing company, just like Biorya Lulu used yoga as an entry point. We're using pickleball, and we like to give it. Stack is like skateboarding in the 90s. We're a little rebellious. We love the noise ordinance. I mean,
I'll have to check out that website. I didn't know this, so I'm learning stuff. I have to go buy some stuff. Yeah, I'm a sucker for buying.
We'll send you stuff. Don't buy anything. Don't buy anything. We'll connect after this.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, so we used to own the PickLRshop.com. We just went through a merger with Pickleball Central, and then we own part of a supplement company. So that is essentially what.
Hey, you forgot about the
California Black Bears. Let's go Bears. So we're Major League Pickleball team owners as well. So
dude, I tried to do that. I have friends that are business partners with Drew Brees and other people. I'm like, how can I be a part of that? Nobody ever called me back.
Talk to us. The Bears could use some good owners.
Yeah.
All right.
We're probably the team that has the least amount of owners still. So let's connect on that. But that's essentially what happened, which now then allowed us to go raise a Series A. Once we cleaned up what the PICKLR Inc. is now, it took a lot of, luckily we were introduced to Josh Shelby, who was our interim CFO at the time, and, helped us raise the capital. This is his specialty. And, we were prepared to raise money because just so you're aware, Eric, we've sold over 350 locations so far. We have 11 locations open and operating. And we just talked this morning. We have
25 that will open in addition to the 11 by the end of the year.
So our goal is to have 40 open and operating. There's 6 potential that could open this year. So in order to do that, and this better than anyone, you have to be sprinting the whole freaking time.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing.
I love it. Let me go back to F1. When did you do the F1 thing in Austin?
Last year, October, and we're going back again. So if you're in Austin, come check. And we're going to have 2 courts this time. This time we're going to have one next to the Sports Illustrated tent. And then we're going to be in the we're going to be paddock. We're going to be with the drivers.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Just stupid to think about.
F1 is fun. F1's insane. I was there 2 years ago, and it's insane. I might go
Yeah.
there. My business partner, Justin Donald, he wrote the Lifestyle Investor book, and we got masterminds together, and he typically goes. So, and he's into pickleball as well. I'm better than him. Just hopefully he listens and he knows that I'm better than him.
Yeah.
But
I have one of those friends.
Maybe
Yeah.
we'll see you there. Did you get any franchisees out of that event, or was it a brand? You did.
Yeah, no, we actually got a lot of franchisees. So we were when everyone comes to the court, they fill out a form and they say they're either interested in becoming a member at a location close by, and they fill out their address, or a franchisee. I think we had 4 or 5 that actually closed from that event.
Yeah, we 5x our return on that investment for that event, which quite honestly, we were going there from a brand standpoint and ended up closing business, which was a huge plus.
People come from all over to go to F1.
Yeah.
And I mean, including other countries, people are there and they have money. I mean, it's not cheap to go to F1 for a lot of them. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that go to F1. So whose idea was it to try that?
Yeah, it was James, our chief brand officer. He's always kind of pushed the limits as soon as he got here as far as redesigning our locations. But he's like, hey, we got to do some big stuff. He filmed our national commercial early on, that before we even before we really had a national presence. And then obviously wanted us to go to F1. We were looking at a few other places. He asked to go to the Super Bowl. Went to the Super Bowl as well. We had the court just outside the Super Bowl, or pretty close to the Super Bowl. And yeah, so.
Yeah, and this year, so F1 has invited us to Austin, Vegas, and Miami this year. So, or Miami next year. Yeah, that's it. I mean, people don't realize, again, what impact that takes on your team. I mean, most of our marketing team's going, we're going, part of our Go team's going, franchisees are going. Like, that is a huge undertaking because it's not just taking a pickleball court. We had a full activation. We had a 100-foot screen that was displaying all of our content. Like, we freaking drove our Tesla down there, and that's wrapped up in PICKLR. When we got there was only grass, and so we had to go buy plywood to set up the court. Like, it's a huge undertaking, but again, we have to be the most recognizable pickleball brand, because there's the PPA, MLP, UPA. We love them. They're our partners. It's incredible what they're doing for the sport. But I firmly believe that no one will do what we're doing for the pickleball space because of the amateurs. These guys will do 30 stops this year with 1,000 players. We're going to have 40 locations with 1,000 players by the end of the year. And we're going to replicate that again the next year, and then the next year, and then international. So the channels that we're going to have, and the reach that we're going to have, and the impact we're going to make for the game by developing and creating new pickleball players. We as a indoor pickleball franchisor, we don't get enough credit for what we're doing for pickleball.
So what does the partnership with the PPA look like, and how challenging was it to have some of these partnerships or sponsorships or whatnot? Like, brag about yourself on like who you have, and then talk about how you were able to secure those.
Yeah, I mean, we started traveling to Major League Pickleball and PPA events early on. Trying to connect with all these people, right? We were just
we had one location.
We had one location. So we're like going out there, like,
fake it till you make it.
Hey, we have one location. We're doing awesome. We're doing big things, and there's a lot of kind of faking until you make it a little bit. But George's superpower is that people fall in love with George in a matter of minutes of just meeting him. He's just a fun personality, and so this
is being recorded.
Yeah.
We're gonna clip that.
Yeah.
No, that's gonna be the main thing.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, so George is that's what he's really good at, is just networking and building relationships. And so we were able to build relationships with MLP team owners, Connor Pardo, Connor Ogden of the PPA, other people involved in the pro scene. And so we just have slowly been working on those relationships. And it hasn't been easy. There's been ups and downs to those relationships. There's been a lot of changes in the pro scene. But ultimately, it made sense for the pro side to join us because we do have the facilities. We just signed a deal to do a couple pro facilities. I can't say who yet because that's going to go out next week.
Well, I just got another text message minutes before we started for another team that wants to do.
So we're doing the venues of at least 3 pro teams. That'll be the venues that will operate like a PICKLR during the majority of the year, but will host these MLP team events, periodically. So all these things are starting to come to light just because of these the commitment to network early on.
But I think we also gotta we gotta give a lot of credit to the team owners that have invested in the PICKLR. We have 6 team owners from Major League Pickleball that are on our cap table, which is incredible to have that relationship, because it's opened the doors not only to capital, but it's allowed us to be in the inner circle of pickleball, right? People don't we're not as maybe out there as a Connor Pardo or some of these other team owners, but it's allowed us to be in the inner circle of pickleball. The UPA, Connor Pardo and Pickleball Inc. They're on the cap table, right? They own ownership in the PICKLR, strategic from the marketing co-op to the technology to core construction companies that we're working together with them to our companies on the e-commerce merging together to access to pros. It was a huge deal for us to partner with Pickleball Inc. because they are the largest pickleball company out there right now, and for them to be on our cap table, to be our partners. Connor Pardo calls me all the time. He calls Austin. We have conversations strategically with them, and so for us, it's also given us a leg up on what other of our competitors are doing. And to what you've noticed, there's been title sponsorships of events that have happened. We are at every event. Our franchisors are at every event, right? We've taken our stack trailer to events. It gives us exposure on a national level. You see us on signage on the courts, and so I think for us, building those relationships in the space has allowed us to grow within the pickleball community.
Yeah. So we talked about Jorge's like superpower of being like lovable and huggable, and I don't know what all the words that were used, kind of rainbows and unicorns, but like Austin or Jorge, what's Austin's superpower? Like, what do you like? I want to go into like, what are you guys really good at? What are you not good at?
This guy scares the crap out of me in the good way. We're getting ready to go international, Canada and Australia. By the end of the month, we should have that papered up and ready to go. And he, is like, let's put a pickleball court in Niagara Falls. I already made the phone calls. I already know what. Like this guy, nothing scares him, right? For me to call him and to say, hey, like, here's my idea, and for him not to even question it or to think about it, just say, let's do it, right? Like this guy, there's never problems, right? It's just solutions. What do you say? Solutions to problems?
Yeah, I don't believe that problems are a thing. I think that you just got to find the solution, right?
Right.
And I don't believe in like losing or failure. I believe in learning, And so me and George like to move fast and make decisions and test things out and beta test stuff, and we don't have a fear of that something may not work. Right? We don't like to overanalyze. We like to let's try it out and see how it goes, and then we can make adjustments and changes.
It's mostly him too, though. I think there's a lot of us out there that are passionate about wanting to be entrepreneurs, right? It's that taking that first step. And I had wanted to do it many times. I had concepts. I mean, I came across CrossFit when there was only like 5 gyms out there in the country, and I told my wife, like, look how cheap this investment would be. Let me try this. And she's like, no, like everything scared me because the thought of failing. I got 6 kids too, right? So I always that back of my mind, but it wasn't until like I called Austin and, he didn't have the fear to do it. And together, we've been able to accomplish a lot. And I think the other thing is, Austin is willing to challenge not only our teams, but also me. And we can have very like friendly and also fiery debates and then 3 minutes later we're laughing and joking around again, right? And I think that's important when it comes to business. We should be allowed to challenge ourselves and to have discussions that can get heated. But at the end of it, when we decide to move forward with a decision we've made, we're not looking back. And we're, Austin's really good at moving forward, and we move forward when we've decided to take on the challenges. And I think that's Austin's, superpower. What are we not good at, Erik? We don't.
Yeah,
we don't
what are you
have
not good
time
at?
For that.
Are either of you good at operations, like COO type personality, or really good in financials or operations? No, not financial, just operations.
Yeah, operation wise, I would say that we move too fast, and we would make too many mistakes to build those processes. But we went and hired all that early on.
Our president,
and don't forget Whitney.
Well, I know. Yeah. I'm going there.
Just don't forget Whitney.
Our president, Jonathan Fernacci, he came from True Fusion. I think they got up to 1,000 locations. You might fact check me there, but he also had a lot of experience when it came to franchising and operation. He's been a CTO, he's been a COO, he's been a president, he's been a COO in just the franchising space. Credit to Jonathan, because we hired Whitney early on. She was a social worker, but a volunteer. Day one, she was at her courts. We couldn't get rid of her. But my goodness, I remember her dad at her wedding, which she met her husband at the PICKLR, said anything this girl touches turns to gold. And I never forgot about that. And Jonathan recognized that and promoted her to VP of franchising. So she's been with us since day one. Somehow we convinced her to leave her very secure job as a social worker to take this chance on us. And now she manages the whole process and understands it, because she's also had a great mentor in Jonathan. And along the way, we brought Traquel Buse, who was our first club coordinator, and Alema Key, who's Whitney's right-hand man now, was a volunteer and managed our Utah clubs and now helps manage all. I mean, we wanted to build people that have supported us from day one, right? That's mine and Austin's philosophy. Yes, we brought in the right people, but we're also going to reward the people that are willing to be with us and sacrifice with us from day one.
Yeah. I mean, right out the gate when we first started franchising, Whitney and her team pumped out a massive, beautiful operation manual that goes over every little detail, from our locations. So when our franchisees come in, there's really nothing that is not figured out.
Library of 1,000 videos, like the process in place to go from 8, like it's. I mean, we operated or wanted to operate like we had already 100 locations open. And that took a long time to get here, but we are so confident now with our processes because we have some very passionate people.
Austin, we've done a lot of talking about Whitney, and George completely forgot about her about 5 minutes ago. And you politely reminded him about Whitney. Did you just about call him Jorge when you?
Because he was mad. That's what my wife calls me, Jorge.
Yeah, for sure.
But you only call me Jorge when it's time to party.
Yeah, when it's time to go.
Oh, it's time to party. Okay, I didn't know if it was going to be like getting upset or it's time for fun.
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Both sides, but mostly on the fun side. Yeah, and really, we rarely get upset at each other. We'll challenge each other on stuff, but we've been friends since 10th grade, right? We've been good high school friends. Our wives hang out all the time. We go on trips together. So I mean that
I've known about him since 9th grade, going into 10th grade summer, because all the girls that were into me all of a sudden were into him, and it pissed me off. So you wouldn't tell now, but the sideburns and the 6-pack he had back in the day.
Peaked early. Yeah. So it's all good. We all have our day.
Yeah.
So
final question, what advice would you give to somebody about partnerships?
That's a great question. I think when you're looking at partnerships or even investors or anybody you're partnering with, right? You have to look past kind of the obvious things to see if they're really going to help build your brand and add value. They have to add value, in my opinion. Like on the money side, there's a lot of money out there. I mean, there's lots of groups that are looking to invest and everything like that. but we wouldn't be where we're at if we didn't partner with the right investors that also brought a lot of value, that brought a lot of expertise, from expertise in real estate to expertise in investing to money management to pickleball and just their knowledge of the pickleball industry. On the sponsorship and partnership side, with like PPA, UPA, MLP, there was a lot of different groups we could go with. We wanted to associate ourselves with the best brands out there. So, we were very picky and choosy when it came to that. And then on the franchisee side, we have 150 organic leads that come in, just organic, not the ones that we go out and push to buy a franchise. We only have, I think, 57 total franchise groups that make up the 350. We have been very, very selective on who gets awarded a PICKLR. So when franchisees come in, they go through the process, they come to our discovery day, it goes to our franchise selection committee, and we say no a whole lot more than we say yes, because we want to make sure that the people we pick are going to represent the PICKLR brand. A lot of people have the checkbooks to write a check to start a franchise, but there's a lot of people out there that just don't represent or don't have the business acumen that we feel meets the level that we want to represent the PICKLR. So our franchisees that we have, we believe are the best of the best out there, and are doing a phenomenal job.
And maybe just to add one last thing is like, can I be friends with this person? Can I hang out? I mean, so credit to Richie Twazin. He is the California Black Bears owner. He's one of our largest investors. That relationship started with him just recognizing that we would show up to his events and just had the courage to say, what do you guys do here? Like, what do you do? Fell in love with what we're doing, invested in the company. Like, we go on, when we go to MLP trips, it's not just to go watch pickleball. We're hanging out, we're golfing, we're consulting with him. We're picking his brain. He's picking our brain. He sends us business deals. We send him business deals, right? And that goes along with our investors. I mean, come to an MLP event, and you're going to see like, holy crap, this guy's, their family that they've created with their investors and the other team owners, just how they treat each other is incredible. I mean, same with Connor Pardo. If I were to call him, he would back us up on anything we're doing. And for us, we've just surrounded our people that are going to have our backs when the times are good and when the times are bad, right? And we've seen it when the times are bad. We picked up the phone, and people were willing to bail us out immediately. And that's the kind of people that I think you have to attract in order to be successful.
That is well said. Gents, thanks for coming on, people. It's the PICKLR. If you want to go check it out, that's the PICKLR. Thanks again, guys.
Hey,
thanks, Erik. It was a blast.
Thanks for listening to the Franchise Secrets podcast. Links to everything can be found over at franchisesecrets.com. And if you want my help with anything from starting your own franchise to growing your current franchise business, please visit scalablefranchise.com.